baseline, runs into three defender, hooks into the corner. Corner three for Hood. Got it. Great give from Gordon Hayward. Rodney Hood buries the three, and guess who leads in Atlanta in the third quarter? It's your Utah Jazz, 55-50. It is tip-off for November 18th. I'm David Locke. We'll talk about the Raptors, get you ready for a pregame, little note or two on that one. Look at where the Jazz are right now, and NBA 5 it. You can put a fork in one team in the NBA. At this point, it's November, and we can build a grave. It's all coming up on tip-off. Boom, 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 pow. Good morning, I'm David Locke. Well, it's whenever you're listening. It's 6:39 as I record this. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. Welcome to Tip Off. It's our fun little podcast. We do it each and every morning. I have a cup of coffee, which I've now found out makes me very healthy. That was the big study and report of yesterday. We're very limited on time today because I am kind of insistent on getting my workouts in, and then I got to get the kids and stuff like that. So for one day, I'm going to bypass pins across the world because I just want to get to where we are. I have said that on game days when I can, I'll try to prepare you a little bit for our opponent. The Raptors gave the Warriors all they could handle last night. It was a pretty good, darn good one. And they're going to be hard for us to handle. They're 7th in the league offensively, 13th in the league defensively, and they come with 2 20-point-a-game scorers on the perimeter. DeRozan's not efficient. Lowry has actually not been greatly efficient, but Lowry's going to be one of those tough point guards, brings our big out, and we'll see. Now, with Scola and Valanciunas, they can't really spread the floor. They can when they have Patterson on the floor or play James Johnson as a 4. But they have got DeRozan, who's a third straight year as a 20-point or game or more scorer. And then they have come in their direction. You've got Lowry as well, 18 points a game, both the last 2 years. Tough as all get out. He'll see Neto, and if he has any energy left after last night of chasing Curry, I think you're going to see a guy who, licks his chops a little bit and is ready to come after you. They've got nice depth. Corey Joseph is their backup point guard. He's getting the minutes for DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright's played 10 minutes all year, and does not have a field goal. So if DeLon Wright scores tonight, you should cheer him on because it'll be his first field goal of his NBA career at this point. This is not a particularly fast transition team, but when they get out and run, they're good. They'll pull the three in transition along the way. They're a very good out of timeout team. Interesting. People don't think about Dwayne Casey that way, but this team is. They'll do the majority of their stuff is coming pick and roll ball handler or spot up. They're not hitting the roll man much at all on their pick and rolls, which means you've got to guard them. Understanding that, but they're pick and roll guys. Lowry and DeRozan are coming off, and then they're kicking out to guys for shots. Otherwise, they'll run a little post up action. Not a great. You don't think of them as a particularly good shooting team, but they're 14th in the league, and when they're unguarded, they're pretty good. So they're an open 3 shooting team. They're not like the Warriors. What I'd say is they're contested 3 shooting team. Be interesting. One thing to watch, which will be interesting in this game, is Kyle Lowry off the pick and roll is shooting just 31% effective field goal percent and 25% field goal percentage. So can you drop back enough? DeRozan, on the other hand, has been pretty solid, but in Corey Joseph, who plays that pick and roll in the lane, is shooting 59%, 58% on those. So it's worth keeping an eye on how you defend Lowry. If you go under, he'll shoot, but he hasn't been making that shot. He's been making his shots on pure spot ups, things of that sort. They'll post up Valanciunas a little bit. He's actually pretty good, 50% shooting on the post ups, and they'll post up DeRozan a little bit. So keep an eye on those things. That's your quick Raptor report for you today. Let's jump to the NBA 5. New Orleans is done. I know it seems insane to say this. It's November. They've only played, they're done. They lost 115-98 last night to Denver. Anthony Davis got hurt again. They don't look like they've rectified anything that we've seen so far this year. I think it's over. And now the question is, what do they do? They're going to be 2-23 and 22, 4 and 21. Do they fire Alvin Gentry? Do they unload guys? Drew Holiday, something we've always talked about. Big point guard, in control, career 38% three-point shooter. Uh, Injury problems with the knees. Relatively decent contract for a few years. Is that something you'd be willing to do? If you're the Jazz, he's on a minute restriction. Those knees are a real problem. You hope your medical staff can handle it. Are they willing to move Ryan Anderson, who frankly they've yet to figure out what to do with when he's on the floor? Their offense is great and their defense is terrible. But they're done. It's over. The schedule's too hard. The talent's not gelling. Even Jimmer Fredette's 40 seconds couldn't do anything for him. So I think you put a fork in him. Denver is a team who I've said this whole time, I just don't think it's terrible. Guys, the league is so different than it's ever been. I mean, last night, Brooklyn beats Atlanta. Detroit beats Cleveland. Minnesota beats Miami. The Knicks beat Charlotte. Denver beats New Orleans. There are only 2 games that went to form last night. The league is crazy different. And what's interesting, Brooklyn and Philadelphia are out of it in the East, and New Orleans and the Lakers are out of it in the West, and I think Portland might be. But otherwise, everybody else thinks they're a playoff team. Portland's lost 6 in a row. So you only have 5 teams that aren't going to be going full throttle all the time, at least until March. The impact of this is tremendous. The impact is that 7 and 8 playoff spots are going to be 40-win teams. If you look right now in the Western Conference, Phoenix, Clippers, Thunder, Nuggets, Jazz, Grizzlies, Timberwolves are all within 2 games up or down of 500. I still think Houston pulls it together. I talked to some people around Houston yesterday. They just said it's going to be an issue of, leadership. But you've got 2, 4, 6 teams, 7 teams in the West, up 2 or down 2. In the East, you have Boston, Miami, Toronto, Washington, Indiana, Detroit, New York, Milwaukee, Orlando, Charlotte, all up to, well, actually down 1 within 3 games of each other right now. I know it's only 10 games, but there's just no separation there. That's 10 teams in the East. And they're all pretty good. Charlotte's all right. Orlando's all right. Milwaukee's all right. Milwaukee, I said yesterday, I think either on this show or on Twitter, I'm concerned about because they haven't fixed their defense. Their defense has become terrible, allowed 1 million points last night. They allowed 115 to Washington. They were an elite defensive team last year. They no longer are, and with some of their changes. Detroit goes and beats Cleveland, go to 6-5. And how about Porzingis? He's the talk of everything. He had the youngest ever, and he's in New York. So there's a little New York going on with him, but he's good. I mean, the stories I heard about how much we liked him were through the roof. We loved him. But last night, Porzingis goes 29-11. I think he's the youngest guy to ever go 25-10. He is figuring it out. Dream shake, post moves, great offensive rebounder. Last night he only had 2. He is shooting 41% from the field and 26% from 3. It's not all perfect, but he's 7'3", 240 pounds, and 20 years old. The rookies are much better this year than they were a year ago. Interestingly enough, right? Last year was supposed to be the incredible draft, Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker, and this is the greatest draft ever, and everyone's built their team to all fall apart. This year's rookies are better. Now, they're not flawless. Karl Anthony Towns is terrific. Porzingis is terrific. D'Angelo Russell's in a tough coaching situation, but he's only shooting 39%, which most rookies do early. Jahlil Okafor is averaging 19 points a game. Hard to tell because it's on Philly. And then it gets Hezonja, 38%. Willie Cauley-Stein's having a nice impact on games, actually playing 20 minutes a night. Emmanuel Moutier's at 31% shooting. Stanley Johnson's at 37% shooting and 19 from 3. Frank Kaminsky is at 33% shooting, 50% from 3, and 33, only playing 11 minutes. Justice Winslow's been terrific. The winners right now are Winslow, Porzingis, Towns, and probably Okafor. Turner's hurt. Lyles, we know, is shooting 27%. Devin Booker's playing rarely, but when he's playing, he's shooting it well at 48%. Cameron Payne is hardly playing. He's at 29%. Kelly Oubre is actually putting in some decent performances so far for Washington. Terry Rozier from Boston is shooting 18%. So it's not. DeLon Wright doesn't have a field goal yet. He's only played 10 minutes. It's not all. It's not all hunky dory right now. This group is better though. Rondé Hollis Jefferson's getting a lot of time. 212 minutes for the 23rd pick so far. He can't shoot, but he's playing 20 minutes a night just because of pure energy. All right, from a Jazz standpoint, Jazz come into tonight 18th best offense, 6th best defensively. The interesting one that's going on with them right now is when the offense plays well and they get it moving, they're fine. When they get stuck in isolation games right now, the Jazz are terrible. Gordon's 1 of 11. Alex 3 of 12. The offense is doing some things right. They have the most shots of any team in the NBA in the restricted area. They're just shooting the lowest percentage. Some of it's these kind of controlled offensive rebound taps that don't go in. Seems to be somewhat a part of it. But obviously, you're watching. If we get caught in the half court, it's not great. We're only shooting 41%. Now, if people get caught in the half court against us, they're shooting 39%. So if we can keep it into a half court game, it'll just be ugly. And they aren't hitting a great deal. They aren't doing a lot of three stuff on us as well. And there's some, you can't. I said Valanciunas posted. You can't post up against us. We're the best defensive team in the league. The post up. We're the best defensive team against pick and roll man. We're just you get near the basket and we're on you. The only thing we're getting beat at is in transition, and we just have to limit it. Opponents, about 13% of their possessions are in transition. So, understand that defensively, we all understand who we are. It's become more and more clear. Nice piece by Aaron Falk. I almost said Bill Orm. Aaron Falk on Salt Lake Tribune on Raul Neto, if you get a chance to watch that. On the offensive side, it's interesting. At this point, Alec Burks has run 63 pick and rolls, Hayward 50, Trey 47, and Hood 41. It's great versatility. Or have shot off of those possessions. That doesn't count times they've passed out of it and done. So great versatility in all the regards here. Ongoing conversation about Gordon. He's got to make some good looks. He's not making his open look. I went and for tonight's broadcast, I have a note. Unguarded catch and shoot last year, 47%. Unguarded catch and shoot this year, 33%. Just not making shots. Wouldn't worry. Interesting though, by the way, we talked about this a little bit yesterday late in the show. It's really third quarters. 29% in the third quarter, 2 of 11 from 3. You really can isolate it down to the third quarters. So is that opposing defense coming out and it takes the Jazz a while to make their adjustment? Might be. All right, that is tip-off today. I'm going to go get the kids. I don't know if I ever finished that isolation thought. Hayward, 1 of 11 in isolation. Alec Burks, 3 of 12 in isolation. Really, Rodney Hood's the only one having any success. And Trey Burke, to his credit, only had 5 isolation possessions the whole year. Trey Burke last year, 12% of his possessions in the final 4 seconds of the shot clock. This year, only 6%. Double figures in 8 of 9, 15 of 32 from 3. Do I have any other really good notes today? Derek Favors road trip, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 56% shooting despite the foul trouble. Pretty darn impressive. All right. Hope you have a great day. Always enjoy chatting with you. Shorter show. I'll have some other podcasts up for you. You've got the Ian Furness, 2 guys on the 12. I'll have my radio segments from this week as well. So lots of stuff available for you. Hopefully it's enough content. Talk to you soon.